Welcome to a new episode of Noise on the Run. I was hoping to have the new interview with EJ, aka Eddie Giles of Final Solution, ready by Monday, but it's just not happening. I am right now in the city, the small village that we shot Engram in 1 year ago with Basha, and we are shooting a few finishing pictures and atmospheres to get the final film out there. It's about 90% done, 90% edited, 95% edited. Sound design and sound mixing and color grading and some effects and stuff you still have to be done, but it's really, really close, and it's really quite... I'm humbly amazed and very proud of what we did and what Basha did mainly. But what we did, the whole group together. So really excited to have that finally come out and have people be able to see it. So yeah, I'm doing a Noise on the Run today, and I didn't have any specific one thing that I needed to talk about. So I opened it up to questions for people on the Patreon and Discord, and got some really good questions. And they're all kind of diverse, but I've realized they all kind of tie together. And the most, I think, the deepest question, which I have the most to say about, I think I'll save till the end, but I think a lot of the questions beforehand kind of tie into that as well. But starting off, someone asked, pretty simple question. I'm always asking people what their top 5 of the past year were. And they asked me what my top 5 of 2022 are so far. And they also said, don't put Blind Date on it because we know you love the Blind Date album. I think they meant I did that review episode where I reviewed the Blind Date album, Thank You, and a number of others, and I raved about it. So I think they're just interested in hearing some more recommendations beyond what I've already kind of talked about there. But I will say that all those 4 albums that I reviewed in that review episode, that's Blind Date, Thank You, Jason Krumer, Thin Ice, the Seepage CD, and the Noriveri CD on Ausat, which there's a new one coming out. I can't remember the title off the top of my head though. Those probably are 4 of my... Those would be, for sure, Blind Date would be on the top 5. Krumer as well. So those are my top 5 list. Blind Date's on my top 5. Krumer's on my top 5. Seepage as well. But I came up with a list outside of those that's a little bit more, I guess, more obscure, which I think is helpful too, to shine a light on a few that maybe haven't gotten as much exposure or simply ears on them. I also will have to preface this by saying my tape deck has been broken for a couple months now, quite a while now, so I haven't been able to listen to many tapes. So shamefully, I haven't listened to a lot of the tapes that have come through the distro, so there's probably a lot of things missing. I know there's a lot of things, good things here that I haven't gotten to listen to that are missing, so take it with a grain of salt, this list, but this is just 5 things that I really liked so far this year. One is the Connive tape on Recluse Activities. That's a newer label out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I believe it's ran by Pascal and Robbie. I think they're running it together. And that Connive tape is really... I need to listen to it some more for sure, but it really shocked me and surprised me for being really... rich, weird, wild, harsh noise, heavy and classic, but with some really interesting sounds and stuff going on in there. I think it's self-titled. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Recluse Activities, check out that label. The recent batch was all good stuff. That was the one that I really liked the most, but the Leo Brochu tape was also very good, and there are a couple others. They're all pretty interesting. And, another one for me is Negation 1988 Mitsubishi Montero Sport CDR. this is like really hard electronic cut up harsh noise packaged in like a DVD size booklet that replicates the owner's manual of a Mitsubishi Montero, and like very little info about the artist. It's a really I actually asked him the what the album is all about, what's the concept of it, because it's like a very precise, exact replica of this car manual, and also very kind of motor sounding sounds in the cuts. Like I said, it's like hard electronics. There's a lot of like jacking kind of sounds. Really cool release. Interesting project negation. The Solar Torque tape was also a good one from a few years ago. I haven't heard much else from him, but I've heard good things, and what I've heard has been also really good. Another one I really liked was Sewer Election Horse Utopia. Sewer Election, this is, kind of like an easy answer, I guess, because Sewer Election is a very well-known, very great artist that gets plenty of, I think, accolades, gets their fair share, deserved. And Horse, it does a lot of releases. In the past few years, I've been doing a lot of releases each year, and high quality and very diverse, so you never really know what exactly you're going to get. It's almost always, it's always worth something. It's maybe not always my favorite, but it's always pretty solid and pretty interesting, and sincere, and that's a real artist in my opinion, who's putting something forward that's about what they want to create and what they want to communicate, and aren't bound to sticking to a certain genre or a certain style or a certain expectation. You might get some really surprising, unusual things with Sewer Election releases, and that's awesome. But this one is really just like straight, basic, harsh noise, kind of in the vein of the double CD double CD and 6-tape box set Blizzard amplification that came out on White Centipede Noise 2 years ago in 2020. I think I even read that it was kind of like a continuation of this. So what's interesting about actually that Blizzard amplification release and this one is that a lot of the Sewer Election stuff, particularly the harsh noise, but just in general, has this really fucked up lo-fi sound to it, and that's like totally almost muffled and bleeding together, and it's a really refined and difficult sound in my opinion. I remember the first few times hearing Sewer Election thinking like, oh, why isn't this like super heavy and harsh and crispy like all the other stuff I love to hear? It's much more in that weird broken pocket like I have kind of addressed before. However, these ones, the Horse Utopia and the Blizzard amplification sessions, are really, really sharp, crisp, brutal, full frequency noise, like with no extra analog saturation or tape decay or whatever on there, or at least very minimal. So you really get this really sharp, crispy sound, which is that's the thing, is he does it, everything he does, if he puts his mind to it, I think he does it really well, and with his own sound, it still sounds like Sewer Election. It still sounds very, very specific to that project. So that's a good one. Another one that I really, really liked is a project called, I believe it's pronounced Size Affects, and it's spelled really strange. It's always kind of hard for me to find it even on Discogs or wherever, but I think it's CYESS AFXZS, and it was a tape and a CD called Ernst, on his own imprint, I think, True to Life. And this is one he sent me cold. I got this cold in the mail, or I think he was a guy who's ordered from me before, and we kind of chatted back and forth, and he said he wanted to send me something. He described it as Harsh Noise Wall, and I got sent the copy, and I kind of had some negative expectations from it, just from the Harsh Noise Wall description. But the tape is really not that at all. It's not at all static. It's really just massive, massive, heavy, churning, crunching, harsh electronic noise. Very electronic. I like that a lot. It's like full stereo field, buzzing, ripping, heavy stuff the entire time. It reminds me a bit of the Condom release, Subjugation, I think it's called, which is like the most harsh noise Condom release that I know of, at least. Just buzzing, dense, active. But I understand why why he called it harsh noise wall, because it is like a constant block of harsh noise. It's not, you know, but it doesn't. But it's not at all adhering to that static, unchanging thing. So that's really good. They might be sold out by now. I've stocked it a few times. I think he has a Bandcamp where you can at least hear the digital files, if not buy them. He might be able to make more for you. I don't know. And based off that one, I'm doing a tape really soon also on White Centipede Noise, a C60 from Size Affects called Richter, which is also really, really good. So, yeah, that's a unknown project. Well, I mean, not unknown. Actually, at this point, he's done a few releases on various labels, and people are the word's getting out there. But yeah, definitely deserved. Definitely a cool project. And then the last one, number 5, is Climax Denial Indolence CD, which came out on Abhorrent After Death. I was able to get a couple copies after doing the interview with Alex. He mentioned it. I wasn't aware of it. I would like to point out that it's kind of frustrating when releases sell out on pre-order before they're available in the physical world, and then by the time they're in the physical world available, they're not available. They're by the time they're shipping, they're already sold out. I think there should be a more direct connection between something being released and being directly available. Because when Alex told me about it, I contacted the label and it was already sold out, even though it hadn't shipped yet. So, and that's a side note, but that's everyone's personal decision how they do that. But I think it's limited to 100. It's a harsh noise album from Climax Denial, and a very, very good one. I think he described it as just wanting to do a harsh noise album, like simple, pure harsh noise, and that's what it is. And it reminds me a lot of the Installation of Blood and Steel release from Grunt, and I think it's kind of the same. I don't think there was any conscious connection, but it's kind of the same approach of like power electronics guy gets the urge or the invitation to do pure harsh noise, and it has that really, like that Grunt release, which is on Harsh Head Rituals, this really physical, hand played, hand smashed, like junk metal, but not like kind of standing back and processing it through a ton of effects and a little, it might be just a shaker box. It's like ramming. It's like really bashing, flowing physical noise with a lot of variation, a lot of action, and then even some howl vocals in there, just like on the Grunt tape. There's after the second or third track, you start hearing some with some delay, which is kind of a classic part in my mind, and that's a great Grunt tape. I mean, that's totally outside of his canon, but it's fucking awesome. And and I remember the picture of that Grunt release. You have like a photo of these trash cans and 2 contact mics, and then 2 of these like cheap Korg micro like PX4 like multi-effect pedals, the same kind of digital kind of junky little multi-effects pedal that actually is really, really good and really useful. And it was like the setup standard of Custodian for many years. And yeah, so the Grunt, and it's so this Climax Denial release sounds a little bit kind of like it's that same approach, but really good. Yeah, I wish that were released in wider availability, because I think a lot of people haven't heard it, and it's definitely worth hearing and being able to get once you hear about it. Okay, so those are my top 5 of 2022 so far, beyond the few that I reviewed, which are also in my top 5. But yeah. So next question.